Oh, no. Three, test 1, 2, 3. Are you picking up audio?
It looks like it's in the but we can't hear it coming. Or even.
Yes. So how about this? Can we go ahead and record just a video with an iPad or something else, and then we can post the video later? It's not going to be fantastic, but it's.
Yeah, that's a secondary option. To have the screen.
It'd be fantastic. Back to low budget. Any apologies?
Karen stopped in the university library at the University of Colorado, and the system was out, and I said, I need to find this particular nonfiction book, and they said, we can't, the system's out. I was like, do we dismiss it? And they're like, oh yeah, that's because, no.
It didn't sound great.
Dewey would never tell you.
No, Dewey is never gonna let us
Oh,
down.
I see what you're saying.
We can even just record a file on iPad and share it later is fine. That works. As long as we have a recording. We'll decide if we do.
Teams is working, so we'll just, we're gonna
Okay.
live stream.
Fabulous.
All right, sounds
Sorry, guys.
all right, thank you. All right, well,
I'll begin by first saying, attending the meeting in person, you can come to the first floor of the library meeting of the library in this room where we're sitting now. Streaming of the library meeting is on the YouTube channel. Sounds like today will post later, or is it's actively working?
We're streaming it. We'll see if we have to post later.
We're streaming, we'll post later. So it's available on the city's website. So at this time, I'd open for any public comment period. It looks like we did not have any public comments when I joined. It looks like we still don't. All right, we can move to the next. Before roll call, I would like to introduce our newest board member, and I'm sorry, but I want you to say your name so I don't butcher it.
It's Deanna, like Vienna.
Okay.
Vienna with the team. My mom, so creative.
Yeah.
Same here. Thank you.
Yeah, well, thanks so much.
Yeah.
Welcome to the library board. So at this time, the meeting of the Rochester Public Library Board on March 15th is now called to order. And I will begin by roll call. Alyssa?
Present.
Steve? Angela? Teresa?
Present.
Nick? Here. Chloe? Here. Deanna?
Here.
Laurel?
Present.
And Adam present. All right, we're all here. So do I have a motion to call the meeting to order? So moved. A second?
I'll second.
Second, Laurel. All right, the meeting is called to order. So I guess we'll move right to the consent agenda. Any objections to tonight's consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
I would move that we approve the consent agenda,
Thanks, Steve.
I'll
All
second.
right, thanks, Deanna. So,
not the consensus agenda. That's a wonderful change.
yeah. All right.
You noticed that change?
Well, it bothered me. It drove me nuts. And I was like, at what point do I tell you guys I don't like that?
It drove the city clerk nuts as well, so.
Great minds, maybe.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. So I guess we'll, all in favor of moving with the consent agenda?
Aye.
All right, any dissent? All right, we'll move forward. Motion passes. So we'll move right to updates and reports. And first we have foundation report. Brenda, hey.
Library Foundation. It's a quieter part of the year, but we are looking forward. I'm working with Jeremiah from the library to do a ribbon cutting with the Chamber of Commerce with a box at the fire station. Probably going to happen in April, which is really nice because it's National Library Month. So looking forward to moving on with that. And we'll have some bylaws review later.
Thanks, Brenda. Next, we have a Friends report. Val?
Hi, Val Kaliszewski, president of the Friends Library. And I wasn't able to report on January bookstore profits at our last meeting. I didn't have the numbers. But in January, we did $7,480, which is a phenomenal month, especially given the weather that we had that month. We had a few, more than a few snow days. We also had a half price sale, which went over extremely well and really contributed to the dollar amount. And then February's profits were $5,724. Also for National Library Week in April, the Friends usually does a staff appreciation breakfast, and consulted with library admin about bringing that back this year now after a 2-year hiatus with COVID. And we'll be postponing that. Admin has another date later in the year that they think would work better for that. So we won't be doing staff breakfast in April. And that's all I have to report at this time.
Thank you, Val. Next on the agenda, we have a Selco report. I don't know, Teresa, if you have the items
Well,
here.
it depends. So I have there's some events they have coming up. Is that something you would want me to report on or? Okay. So March 22nd, there's a book repair 101 workshop that's available to attend for $15 for supplies. They had 3 spots left as of a couple days ago. April 19th is the Rural Community Challenges and Relationship Building workshop. And that's going to be a Zoom meeting. So there's registration information available for that. April 24th is how to build community partnerships. And that's also a workshop Zoom meeting available too. So if anybody wants links for those, I can provide those. That's it.
Thank you so much. It's great to have a Selco report, so thank you.
And we're hoping to have a Selco onboarding soon.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I
yes,
had to get rescheduled because they're getting carpet.
Yes.
And that's
That's important.
that was impacting a lot of their work.
Thanks, Teresa.
Yep.
And next, youth representative report. So Chloe.
I unfortunately had to miss this month's meeting because I was out of town, but we're still working on kind of creating the foundation for the new Rochester Olmsted Youth Council. And yeah, we've created like small groups and stuff to break out and just start working on some projects.
Okay, thank you. Maybe one more time. Any questions for any of the members of the foundation, Selco, friends, etc.? All right, thanks everyone. Not seeing any questions, I guess we can move to reports and recommendations. And Karen first, RPL Foundation bylaw changes. You want to take that one?
I'm going to turn that one over to Brenda.
Yeah, so the changes are really inspired or led by the crossover library board members from last year. And that would be changing the terms and the number. So going from 3 crossover reps to 2 reps, which helps you do committee assignments, I think, a little bit better with people's capacity. And then we're changing the limits from 3 3-year terms to 3 2-year terms. And then they just added language except for the executive director, that she has to stay forever. Anyway, as long as at the will of the board, of course. So those are kind of the overview of the changes. Hopefully you were able to review them in your packets, you saw them, extra stuff stuffed in there, but those are, we approved them as a foundation board, and now it's coming to you to approve them unless you have any questions or comments or concerns.
Thanks, Brenda. Any questions from the broader group for Brenda on the changes? I have a motion to endorse and approve the changes.
I would move that we approve the foundation bylaws.
Steve, do you have a second? Thanks, Nick. Can I get a vote in favor of approving and recommending the changes? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any dissent? All right, motion passes. Thanks, Brenda. Next item we have is the 2022 Minnesota Public Library Annual Report.
Yes, so the annual state report was included in your packet. This is a requirement from the Minnesota State Department of Education. We do this annually. Hopefully everybody got to review every last detail of the report. Just some things, some very high level things to note. There were 2 fairly minor changes from the report that you initially saw, but Kate did send out the updated report. Really just accounting for dollars spent on the roof when they will be spent and actually come out of it will not be on this year's report for 2022. It will be on next year's report for 2023 because the full bill will come all together. So that was one minor change, and we just needed clarification from the state in order to finalize that. And we got that today just in the nick of time. And then a small minor change to some programming information. Instead of 0 attendees, there were 2 programs that were canceled. So just to clarify on those pieces. Overall, some important things to highlight that may have stuck out to you. Overall, you'll see a decline in the number of card holders compared to last year. It's really important to note that when we were closed for, cards do expire at a certain point, and we had a year and a half where folks weren't coming into the building as much, and we still aren't. The foot traffic still isn't what it was pre-pandemic. So some of that is just that cleanup of the records and those falling off, folks that coming back. But we had an increase in collection use. So I think you're seeing the active card holders actively using us and accessing the collection. Our visits basically doubled from the previous, go ahead.
So, no, I was going to say, so you actively purge.
We do actively
You do.
purge
Okay.
after 3 years, thank you.
And if somebody's card is at the end of its life, they, she or he gets a notice that.
Yes, reminders are sent out.
Renew one's card, I've never had to do that.
Andy, tell us about the renewal process.
There are multiple ways. With the desk, you can do it on the phone and you can do it online.
All right, so if I get an email message, I can do it through that message.
Okay.
And I keep the same card. I mean, it just
Yeah.
gets zapped again.
If you want, anything you like.
Okay.
Do we pick the color?
You can.
I just because my card is orange. Choose today.
Anymore. Those are limited edition.
Under that.
So I got to really be careful with that now. Okay.
Yeah.
Andy, it is 3 years, right? 3-year cycle, yeah, okay, just thought you were like.
Yeah. Well, it was 7 and then it was 5.
And now it's 3, yeah. Which is the standard. The gold standard. In person.
More.
Yay.
Again, overall, there are collection use up, so surpassed 2 million, which is exciting. Our visits basically doubled from last year, but are not back to the pre-pandemic levels, but we'll get back there. As a side note, we are having a meeting about the scaffolding in front of the building, and hopefully that's coming down soonish. So we can send that nonverbal message that yes, we are definitely open. Our offsite connections increased, so we were definitely out more in the community and making those connections with folks. Programs and program attendance also increased. There was a slight decline in our bookmobile stirk, and I think there's a little bit of that is, you know, there were folks that were really using the bookmobile heavily because it was continuing to provide that contactless service. So that could be part of it, and it wasn't a significant decline. Anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, up until last fall, if there was any kind of weather event, you had to come off the road because all of the service was being provided outside. So if you look at January, February, March, April of 2022, there were a number of weather events that took the bookmobile off the road. Now, because we are allowing people on the vehicle, we still sometimes have to come off the road for weather events, but we can stay out there differently, longer. The weather can be a little bit more severe before we come off the road.
Good year to have one of the snowiest years on record.
Well, and we're still looking at the schedule and usage patterns. Usage patterns continue to change as we rebound from the pandemic. I think we're going to start increasing the number of stops to 3 a day with the summer schedule and kind of see how that plays out. The feedback when we had the 2 a day was people appreciated the longer predictable stops, but now usage patterns have changed where they're really heavily used the first hour of the stop and very lightly used the last hour of the stop. So we're going to, continue to explore ways to maximize our impact.
So any other questions about the report? All right. So then there will need to be a motion to approve the report, and we're not going to forget to sign this because Pern is not here to remind us at the end of the meeting.
Perfect. Do I have a motion to approve the report? Angela, thanks. And a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Melissa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any dissent?
See, now you can prove it.
Motion passed. Thanks, Karen.
Excellent.
Next item, we had the budget priorities recommendation and related to the finance committee meeting.
Yes, so the ad hoc finance committee was able to meet twice over this last month. As you'll recall, we do have a lot of very fixed costs because a lot of our budget is staffing, and those are some very fixed costs that we don't have a lot of control over. But based on the action plan that you approved earlier this year, we did meet to prioritize what those asks would be as far as budget adjustments or decision packs. And decision packs are described by city admin as anything that smells new. So if it's something that is new that we haven't done before, then there's a list of the decision packs in the prioritized order, 1 through 4, or that the committee is recommending. And then anything, the CIP request is the one loan request in the shaded box, and then the others are budget adjustments that would be not, smells new, that there are just significant adjustments in those lines where the spending has been, was projected to be more than what the baseline budget would allow. So I apologize that you're, just getting this now in the paper form, but the recommendation would be to, committee, feel free to chime in as well. Okay, to approve this, for us to move forward. Again, we're on a very tight budget deadline, and that's why we met twice in a month, which doesn't happen for a lot of our committees. We need to have approval so we can move forward.
Can I say just the materials handling professional services, is that getting pre-processed materials that are barcoded with the catalog? Is that what it is?
It is not with a record. Our part of our services already come with when they ship from Ingram, they send them in as LCLC records. So we're not paying for a file for records. It's covering both hard covering and soft cover books and barcode.
Okay.
And barcode tag placement, but not something.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions about the items listed?
I guess my only clarifying question, if it's a decision pack for 2025, if approved and put in the decision pack, when do you expect to get information back from the city?
On 2025 items. So there really is even though it's a 2-year budget cycle, there is a second window. So next year there will be time to put forth decision packs. So for example, we were instructed to prioritize order of importance last go around. And you'll remember there's not an opportunity to submit new decision packs. So it would be submitted in the 2025 budget. If that makes sense. And that really is just for that last item as item number 4. Any other questions?
And it's a July 1st start to the budget.
No, January.
January, okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve this presented.
Thank you, Deanna. I have a second.
Second.
Thanks, Teresa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any dissent? No? All right, motion passes. That's great. Thanks, Karen.
Good work, Finance.
I'm right.
Next, moving on to informational items, we have the equity plan update.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that we brought this forward. This is very, very draft. We are working with Chow Matella, the city's DEI coordinator, to work on our goals for this next year. We did have a plan that we really kind of closed out at the end of 2022. It's 2023 now. And so now we're working on building our new action plan. I don't know if we can switch to.
Yep, sorry.
And so if you have any questions on the goals, really looking forward to doing a new assessment, IDI assessments for all teammates, which we did in 2018. And with the intent that we would do it again at some point. And so our goal is to have all of our employees go through that assessment either a second time, or for some it would be a first time. Do you want to know what that is?
No.
Okay.
I was just waiting for the appropriate time. Sorry, we won't play poker. Who do you use? Do you use the same system, the outside vendor, to do your assessments, or have you thought about training somebody internally to do that?
So that is.
It'd be so expensive.
That is one of the questions. There is actually the city, aside from Chow, who was the DEI coordinator.
She's one of my former
There is now.
There you go.
Chow's amazing. The HR division is hiring a new position. That was another position that they were able to create for this year, an HR business partner, which may help us either build some internal capacity or work with an outside vendor.
Otherwise, I have a faculty member who does a lot of that. He's done like for Rochester Public Schools and for the city, he's done some of their multicultural training and he's getting now certified to do that training as well. Right.
Yeah. And that's one of our things is to locate a vendor, or if there's an opportunity citywide to do something as a city. So that will be part of it, is exploring that and then actually completing the assessments. Another thing is partnering with community organizations and groups committed to DEI. We had little capacity to do this as far as programming in the last year. And of course, we're adding that capacity now that we're adding, we have 2 new librarians who, well, one is starting pretty soon. We'll be back to we'll have our 2 librarians in place. So our positions filled, and that's, again, adding capacity as those folks get onboarded. And then looking at our annual demographics, we're working with our HR business partner to work on that goal. And then the last goal is to develop some new cohort discussion groups within the library. We had completed the Seeing White podcast series by point in 2022. We were able to, all of our divisions were able to go through the Seeing White podcast series, and that was a really good introductory series for all different divisions. The DEI coordinator really is leaning into pushing us to find a new series or curriculum that ties back to the jobs that we're doing. So that's part of it, is trying to identify what that next series or discussion, intentionally creating some time for having discussions on a regular basis with teammates and supporting learning and growing space.
So when you talked about demographics, are you benchmarking your employment demographics versus the, employment county as a whole or cities?
So that is, the city has done that as a whole, and that's not something that we looked at them years ago, but we're working with HR to do that again. Yeah.
Is that talking about key performance indicators? I've always seen that as a good key performance indicator, is how does, your staff, mirror the community you're serving.
Yeah.
Right. And then what the current employment picture looks like as a whole, and the chamber usually has that information. Right. So you can compare employed compared to see if we're doing better or worse compared to the other, communities the community as a whole, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Any other questions? Excellent.
Thank you, Karen. I guess next item, space use changes. Would you like to take that one as well?
All right, I will turn over to my friend Sarah.
It's coming.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. So I'm Sarah Padalita. I'm the head of reference. I'm going to talk a little bit about some space updates. I've been at the library since 2018. Things have changed quite a bit since I have been here. So this is kind of an overview. You can see the meeting room that we're sitting in right now in the middle here, and talk kind of about the history. If you could go to the next slide, Mike. Dance break. All right. So one of the things that we have done is change the name of some of these spaces that we offer. So this was previously called Meeting Room C. Meeting rooms A and C were on the first floor, one of them in a staff-only hallway. Meeting room B was upstairs. That made sense to absolutely no one. So we have tried to make these make a little bit more sense now. And I think the next slide we'll talk about what these things are called now. These were some of our public spaces here. There we go. So meeting room A, that is what you see pictured over here, is no longer a meeting room. As we have reconfigured things and moved things around, moved things off-site during flood reclamation and then move things back here. That space is now used for storage, including all of our gorgeous summer playlist bags that are ready for the summer. So that is our first floor storage space. This space is now the first floor meeting room. You can see our new signage outside telling you what this is. So we use it for only some library programs. Board meetings are in here. We use this space for staff meetings as well. Group study space upstairs. We also had the maker space that was upstairs. The walls could not go all of the way to the ceiling because we have some lighting that hangs down and the fire suppression system. So we have half walls there, which were very misleading because people would shut the door and feel like, okay, now we're in this space, we can hang out and chat, and just in normal volume like I'm speaking right now, which is very loud in a library. So it was misleading. It was not great for group study, which is the whole intention of the room. So we are reconfiguring that space. We're going to have some seating there. Our community information space, which is now used to be in the bathroom hallway, which is kind of a crowded, awkward area to look at information. That is upstairs now. It's on kind of secondhand furniture. So we have some designs that we are going to have a nice attractive display for all of the community information. When people want to reach the community, they know the library is a great place to do that. That's one of the places that will be. And then our meeting room B, which is on the second floor, kind of directly above where we're at right now, we are going to be opening again for public booking by groups, which we know people will be excited about. And the next slide has a little bit more information about that. Programming coming back, as Karen talked about, we've got more capacity as more librarians are coming on board. And then the next slide, I believe, has all of our details. So starting with the policy that we received from the board, so this should look familiar. From November, this is our library space policy, which kind of governs this usage that we're doing. One of the biggest changes that is it's going to be free. We did charge in the past, and there was a designation depending on what type of group you were. And then we had to have people take payment and then track whether or not the payment has been made. In order to be welcoming to as many people as possible, we are going to offer the space free of charge. So as the policy guides us to do, and then the next slide has this is what I was waiting for. This has our all of our guidelines. So this is what the newly configured space looks like now upstairs. People will be able to, in the next few weeks, we're going to have a soft launch here. Can reserve it for 2 hours at a time. You can have 2 reservations on the books. We're going to have it out 31 days in advance. We plan for 1 month and then hopefully for the next. And we will be opening that soon. We will be using online reservations so people can go on. Anybody will be able to reserve that space. Give us some brief information. As we're retooling that will affect the other spaces that we use and all of the way that we publicly are getting information from people. So we're trying to make it consistent. We're trying to make it as easy as possible for people. So we know people are so excited to be back to use the space again. We're excited to have this happen. We also know that we are never going to meet everybody's very specific individual demands. Well, my group needs this and my group needs this. We are trying to do this for the whole county. We have 1 room. We're doing the best we can. So we appreciate people's patience as we roll this out and evaluate how it goes. We know it's been a long time coming, but we're very excited to be offering that space again. So look for that soon. I believe, Jeremiah, when our newsletter goes out, which will be going out in the mail in the next couple of weeks, that will have a date on there. So we will have that. The reference desk staff upstairs, since we're right by that room, will be letting people into that room and kind of managing the reservations there. So excited to use technology to do all of the easy stuff for us.
So the reservations, just for clarification, it's if I make a reservation on day 1, on day 31, I can have 2 reservations.
Yeah.
And that rolls forward for me. Correct. For not against everybody else's calendars, right? Yeah.
And once your first meeting is done, then you can again have 2 on the book.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you.
All right, wonderful.
And then next we have the peak agenda review.
Yeah, and we just wanted to make sure that everybody got to see, we talked about this last month. We're moving to the city-wide, the system for managing boards and commission meeting minutes and agendas. This will look very similar to what city council uses. I think on the back end, we're going to love it. But I think on the front end, customers, community members, they'll have a similar experience here that they'll have at city council. Something that we didn't include in the packet is what those, in the current packet, the title page for each recommended action item, it'll look also different, but it's going to provide more information up front. So that will also be an improvement, but just wanted to give you a sneak peek of what that looked like. So any questions, and you will note, again, consent agenda. Yes.
Thank you. I guess now we're moving to question and answer time or roundtable time. Any roundtable topics from the group? I can lead with one topic. After our last meeting, I mentioned that I was trying to get an opportunity to meet with Brooke Carlson, the city council president, just talk more about the space study session that we had almost 2 months ago now, and just sort of the consensus of city council moving forward. I'm glad to see the first prioritization on the finance packet here to include a provision to plan for a study. I didn't get a lot of feedback from Brooke out of the meeting with that, but more of the feedback that there's no consensus from the city council at large of one way or the other of what space should be for the library. And that, it's probably more than likely that they'd be supportive of a plan, but, sort of hard to say what that would be moving forward. But she didn't immediately say, absolutely not, don't try to get a plan approved and try to pass that forward. So I took it somewhat positively. Hopefully that's the case, but more to come with that once the packet's officially submitted.
And I did send out information about the Charter Commission meeting for those who were there. If you want to share anything else about that, again, that does need to go to the city council. City council would have to approve a unanimous vote.
Any indication on the time that it would go to city council? Is it the next city council meeting, or has that not been discussed?
I don't think it's going to be the next one, so it might be. I need to verify what the date is. I will follow up on what that date will be.
It wasn't unanimous last night, which perhaps is positive. I don't know what else.
Wouldn't one potential concept be that you're effectively reducing the voice for the non-city people served by the library, right? Because the city council does not represent everybody the library serves, but now the direction is going to be by that one subgroup. And so that might be one angle to work up on that process, I would argue.
I'm not sure I follow what you just said. Could you just?
Well, you're representing the county on the library board, right?
Mm-hmm.
How are you represented by the city council?
Not everyone who lives in the county and uses the library is represented by city.
Correct. That's my point.
I see what you're saying. Okay, got it. I just
So that would be,
clarification.
you're disenfranchising a group of constituents. And I would argue that if presented in that way, most people, at least one person on the city council would probably say that's not a good idea.
And taxpayers, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's all in city council.
Yeah.
We shall see.
Just have to communicate with the city council members and articulate to them why you think that's a bad idea or a good idea. Okay.
I think we've communicated that.
Well, they like to hear it a lot, and they like to hear it right before they vote. Because elected officials, shockingly enough, in my experience, have a particularly short attention span. Only my experience. I'm sure it was different in Guam.
I wouldn't say that.
Exactly.
People are people.
Last time this issue came before the city council, the library board president, so Antonia, did speak and share the board's thoughts in the public comment the evening of that council meeting. So
Sure.
Will they written comments could also be submitted as well.
Will they let you know the date that it's?
Yeah, I will follow up and get the date for sure.
Okay.
Would be neat if the charter commission members who would come forward with their comment at that point. I know they won't, but there was some good, strong comments made in support of the sustaining public libraries and their separation.
Again, our intent is to be holistic and inclusive, and you're kind of moving against that with this particular change. So.
Well, thanks again for everybody that was able to attend last night. Thanks, Karen, for the update. Other topics? Seeing none, I have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Next, second.
I will second it.
All in favor of adjourning? Aye. Any dissent? Motion officially adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Now you need to do this.
Oh, yeah. Now.